Hey loves, I'm Squid.
And I'm Cheer, and you're listening to
Not Your Pick Me,
a podcast that highlights gamers and content creators who are breaking barriers in hopes of making gaming and streaming communities safer and more inclusive spaces for everyone.
Stick around for some hilarious yet educational content. And just remember, no matter how much you want us to be, we're not your pick me.
Hi friends, welcome back to Not Your Pick Me. This episode, we'll be speaking with Tactical Grandma, the amazing Warzone sniper who gives out 4 head kisses all over Verdansk, RIP, and Caldera. We're so excited to hear her experiences from a lifetime of gaming as an OG, original gamer. Grandma has been playing video games from day one and shows no signs of stopping. We can't wait to hear about her experiences as a woman who has been able to watch the gaming world unfold from its origin.
So first of all, thank you for being here with us, Grandma. We'd love for you to take the time to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Tactical Grandma. I've been playing video games since I was 7, and I just turned 57, so 50 years now. Started with Pong, Atari 2600, all the Nintendos, Xbox, PlayStation, now PC. Been streaming for a little over 2 years, and I love first-person shooters.
So you said you started gaming when you were 7 with like Atari and Pong. What got you into gaming?
The interesting thing is my mom and dad really loved, when we got Atari 2600, they loved it too. So we would sit around on Sundays and play as a family. So I have an older brother, and there'd be 4 of us, and we would just take turns 2 at a time playing different games. We played a lot of Crackpots, Kaboom, stuff like that. My mom just loved video games. My mom loved going to the arcade and playing pinball. So I think I probably got it from my mom.
That's awesome.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah. That's so cool. What is your first gaming memory like that really sticks out to you?
I would say sitting around with my family, like playing the games, just laughing and have a good time and competing. We're all pretty competitive. Like no one wanted to lose. But playing like Kaboom and Crackpots, I remember the most. Like the Crackpots is one where the spider goes up the wall and you're trying to drop the pots down to keep them from coming up and stuff. Just sitting around as a family playing, because it was either that or card games, and I hated card games. So
That's
Why
adorable.
do you think you hated card games?
my mom was way over competitive and would tell us how to play it, and she wouldn't tell us how to play the video games.
She's like, I'm not going to tell you. Figure it out.
We literally called it forced family time when we had to play card games.
Oh,
It was
no.
terrible.
I find that so cool that like your family was also into like video games, because
Yeah.
mine is not. They were into Wii a little bit. And so I remember we did like some Wii Fit together. I would love if that was a thing now. Like if I could get my mom to play Call of Duty.
That would be fun. So my parents came up and visited. We had the GameCube. So do you remember with the game? I forget what it's called, but it had the bongos.
Yeah, Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
The bongo ones, yeah.
They played it when they were up here and they loved it. So they went home and bought themselves a GameCube in that game. And they
I
were
love that so
older.
much.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So, okay, we've obviously talked about a few different consoles and games. Do you happen to have like a favorite game and or console?
People ask me this a lot, and I kind of go back to GoldenEye. Which one was GoldenEye? I can't remember. I'm old. Memories are hard with consoles. But it was GoldenEye because it was like the first person shooter I started playing and really kind of fell in love with. We would sit around, because my son was a little older at that time, and we didn't have money to go out. Our date nights were always video games, my husband and I. And so we'd sit around, play games, or we'd play with our son, or we'd have some friends come over and playing, 4 people staring at each other's corners, like, where are they, and going and finding them and stuff like that. But I fell in love with first-person shooters with GoldenEye, I think.
Do you think that that's partially your competitive side too, that first person shooter is?
Yeah, I think so because it just, I always want to win. I hate losing, but usually he probably can hear me, but usually I won.
Of course. No one's surprised.
And we play a lot of Madden and FIFA too. A lot of Madden and FIFA.
Okay.
I wish I could use a controller. So because of arthritis, I can't use a controller anymore because just that motion hurts. That's why I'm on PC. And I tried to play Madden on mouse and keyboard, and it's horrible. So I can't play it anymore. It's horrible. You can't run a running back with mouse and keyboard. It doesn't.
Do you feel like there's anything else that you've had to adjust with your gaming style from just playing over the years?
Well, I'm slower. Definitely I'm slower. Like I've had to adjust. And it is sometimes like playing, the people I play Warzone with are all younger than me, clearly. But the sad thing is I can feel that my mind's slower than it used to be. And my reflexes are slower than they used to be because I was a goalie in soccer. I was a shortstop in softball. I had very good hand-eye coordination. And things have slowed and I can feel it and it's really frustrating.
We can't tell.
No,
just so
not
you know,
at all.
none of us can tell at all. Because I'm like, I watch you play. Like I remember watching your first TikToks and being like, this one is sick. Like she's got good movement.
The difference between the TikToks is most of them, because what most people want are sniping shots, and so it's further away fights. It's the close fights that I have a hard time with. I'm getting a little better and getting better hip fire and stuff like that, but close fights is where I can sense that the slowness a little bit.
I actually have the opposite problem as you. I have a metal plate in my wrist, so I can't do keyboard and mouse because it hurts when it like rubs against my desk. So people are like, PC on or controller on PC, and I'm like, I literally can't.
Right.
And I also have like bunch of thyroid problems, so my like body can get really slow, and I know how like frustrating it could be when you know like I can be doing better, but like my body physically can't. How do you deal with like that frustration and that like just mental hurdle of like, I know I could do better, but my body won't let me?
It's actually hard sometimes. Like I get anxiety and I can sense when I'm on stream and I'm getting frustrated with it because I'm playing. I've slowly kind of played with better and better people that are sweatier and sweatier. And so I'm trying to keep up with them. And I start to get anxiety and have to realize, you know what, I just have to play within my own abilities. And my own abilities are pretty much the sniper. I mean, so if I can snipe and down people and kind of call out, well, then they can kind of come in and do that stuff. And if I don't win my 1v1s, it's okay. And it's not like that anybody I play with like says anything. They're all so supportive and encouraging. It's just in my own mind, my competitiveness is like, oh, I could have got that if I was a few years younger.
I think that's the thing too, is that a lot of people forget is that it is a team game.
Yeah.
And like you can use that sniper as a person to call people out and to like down people and then people go and finish them. It's not even that it's a moment where like you're not being able to contribute. Like everyone needs that person.
Yeah. I have a friend that I play with and her husband, her boyfriend, has been gaming for a long time. He's in an org. He's very good at the games. And he said to me, I was like, yeah, well, I'm not that good. He goes, no, don't say that. He goes, you have a role on the team and you know your role. Your role is to be the sniper and do this. And so he's the one that kind of pointed it out to me, which kind of made me feel better because I'm like, okay, well, this guy's playing, like, competing and he knows these games. So I'm like, okay, I guess I do have a role and I'm not a burden, because you kind of feel like a burden sometimes when you're not playing as good. Because I'm not a competitive player. I'm a content creator. I'm in it for the fun, the memes, the clapping back at people, it's just what I'm in a PG way, 13, but
in a PG way, 13. Grandma, I think that the coolest thing that I've ever seen you do was talk about that man's wrinkly balls.
I mean, if he wants to put them out there for everybody to talk about, we're going to talk about his wrinkly balls.
I saw that on Twitter and I literally was like, oh. I was like,
kind of stuff I get.
Yes. I was like, this is why I look up to her.
It's like looking into my future.
Right.
I have the mind of a 13-year-old boy. I'm not going to lie. I
say it all the time.
I tame it down. I try to be PG. I'm PG-13 most of the time.
So Tactical Grandma tweeted on January 22nd, 2022. I just had a guy tell me I had more wrinkles than his balls. Sad man with wrinkly balls.
You know what I told him too? I'm like, you probably should go see a doctor about your wrinkly balls.
Someone replied, all balls are wrinkly, aren't they? And Grandma responded, that I wouldn't know, sir.
Okay, but all balls are wrinkly, but we weren't just going to go there.
Oh my God. Sad man, wrinkly balls. That's what I love. It's just like a statement. Like It's almost like you have a picture of a man and like it's the description underneath. It's like sad man, wrinkly balls.
The thing is, what made him think that was such a good diss to tell me about his wrinkly balls? Like, sometimes they're just so out there, you just have to go with them and just roast them because that one was just too much.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Then there's the people that are like, you're clearly using walls, you're cheating, you're so bad at the game that you have to cheat because you don't know how to play the game, but yet I can install cheats. Like,
I love when people call you out for hacking.
Like, have you watched a stream? I have a 1.11 KD. Come on now.
They're like, she's obviously hacking. You're like, why? Why do you think I'm hacking?
I harass them back. I go into my comments because Facebook has some really bad trolls. I'll go back in and be like, I usually just put that face palm, like, that's a response to them all. For one, it does get more engagements on your post, so it's kind of...
That's my favorite thing, is when someone's being a troll or whatever, I'm like, thank you so much for boosting my post.
Yeah, thanks for paying my bills.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So another thing that we were wanting to like ask you about as well is like being a person who is 57 playing video games. Do you have a specific way that you like if people were to say elder or older or whatever, what is it?
Senior.
What is it that like you enjoy most? What do you feel?
My clan tag is old. I mean, I own it. My clan tag is old, so I'm like, I'm old. I don't care if you call me old. And then people like will come in and be like, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you? And then people get offended in chat. I'm like, it's fine. I mean, clearly I'm an older person playing video games online. I'm out there with it. I'm going to tell you how old I am. I am old. You can call me senior. You can call me, but I'm old.
I think that people get worried that you think that like, that's what you are. Mm-hmm. When really like, cause people come in and they'll be like, what's your sexuality? To us. And like it's kind of like in their head of like, oh, they're a queer streamer, they're an older streamer, they're a person with different abilities, different physical abilities, and so that's who they are, when we know that like that is a really attention grabbing thing, but we have so much more to offer.
Right.
And I think people who are like communities see that and want us to not think that, but we know.
Right. Yeah. It shouldn't define who we are. And it isn't who we are.
Being queer is who I am. I'm just super gay. No, I'm kidding. But like we do and I think that that's when like our communities get really defensive because they see and know that like, that's not just who we are. And it's really kind of like, why is that the first question you ask?
I don't know what you're talking about, Squid, because my community, someone comes in and says, how old are you? My whole chat says I'm 60. So I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm not dealing with that. They think I'm older than grandma. I'm 30.
My chat will literally say I'm 10,000 years old. And I just say old as dirt usually. I harass them a little bit, but then I tell them because I don't care.
One of my cheerleading coaches likes to say that what does he say? He's been the coach of the team since Jesus was a carpenter. And I love that.
Good Lord.
So you primarily stream on Facebook, but also Twitch. Also, I saw yesterday you are one of the lucky ones who got a TikTok stream code. Not going to talk about how jealous I am. It's fine. It's cool. Congrats. What are the differences or similarities between those three platforms, and like what have you noticed between the three?
Okay, so I picked Facebook because that's where I first saw streamers. My son tried to get me to watch streamers on Twitch for a long time because he knows I like video games, and I'm like, it's stupid. Who wants to watch people play video games?
I was in the same boat.
So stupid.
I just want to play. Like, why am I gonna watch people play them? So I never did go on there and watch people. And then the way Facebook is, being a social media platform, I'm of the generation that uses Facebook. You guys probably don't anymore, but
I do every day.
There you go. But you scroll through your feed. She's 60.
God damn it.
Well, I don't know if this happened to you, Cheer, but like you're scrolling through Facebook and a stream popped up on my feed. I don't know why, but for some reason it did. And it was the Pool Shark, and he was playing with Darkness, and they were playing Fortnite, and they were funny. So I just every day I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch that again. Oh, I'm gonna watch that again. And like I'm back every day in there watching them play Fortnite, and then seeing other streamers that would play with them, and then going and seeing their streams. And so well, for one, I never wanted to stream. But when I got the PC, my family's like, you should stream. And I'm like, no one's going to watch me. And they're like, perfect. Nothing to worry about. You should do it. So I did. And so that's why I picked Facebook. So I'm like, it has a built-in social media side of it where you can kind of get your friends in there. You can get family, say, hey, come like my page, and you kind of get there is an algorithm, you kind of get put into people's timelines and stuff. And so Twitch is, harder to grow on unless you use outside stuff. And I didn't know that platform at all. So that's why I picked Facebook. Twitch is known, and because go back to Facebook, because it's a social media platform, people are doing this a lot. Mm-hmm. They're literally just like, okay. Oh, I'll look at that for a minute. Okay. So it's a lot of the views are quick views, right? Because they're just scrolling through. So it's not like someone coming to watch you play video games. There are those that do that are your followers, but a lot of what you see as views is people just kind of scrolling through. Twitch it's a destination. It's a destination to watch video games. So people come to Twitch I'm going to go watch this person play video games. Oh, she has to get up and go to the bathroom. Okay, I'll wait for her to come back. Facebook, you get up and go to the bathroom. Like, you come back, you're like, wow, where'd everybody go? But for Twitch to grow, you have to be on other platforms to help draw yourself, which brings me to TikTok. TikTok is amazing for growing your Twitch. I was not streaming on Twitch until my TikTok kind of started taking off. And there's a lot of people that are on TikTok or of the younger generation that won't go on Facebook. They literally won't go on it. So they're like, we want to see you stream. We want to see you stream. And I'm like, well, if I can reach this part of an audience that I can't reach here, then I'm going to stream on Twitch 2 days a week, 2 afternoons a week. And you shouldn't have all your eggs in one basket after we saw what happened with Mixer.
Yeah.
You just never know, right?
Wait, so you mentioned Mixer. Do you mind explaining that to our listeners of what exactly happened there?
What I know that happened, just from hearsay, because I wasn't part of Mixer, but basically they just shut down one day. Like all these creators were making their livelihood on Mixer. We're streaming daily, and all of a sudden they said, yeah, we're shutting down, and you're gonna have to find somewhere else to create your content. And these people were left without a way to kind of continue their career, right? Facebook didn't buy Mixer. Everybody thinks Facebook bought Mixer. Facebook didn't buy Mixer, but Facebook offered Mixer partners a partnership on Facebook. Maybe not the same contracts. I have no clue because I wasn't one of them, but I have a friend who was a partner that was a partner on Mixer and is now a partner on Facebook and doing great. And then there's some that came over and struggled, and then they went to Twitch. So it's just,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I could not imagine that.
Yeah. Just all of a sudden not know where you're going to be making your living from.
Terrible.
A lot of people are doing it full time. Yeah.
But I want to know how it was to stream on TikTok.
TikTok. Yeah. It was insane. Okay. So I'll just tell you a quick story. So 2 weeks ago I tried, and 6 minutes in, my whole stream just got shut down, and I was banned for a week. I was playing with my husband and 2 randoms. One of the randoms said the N-word.
Oh.
And I said, whoa. And I immediately muted them. And I'm like, I'm a PG stream. We don't do this here. And then I was shut down. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't us. It wasn't anybody I knew, but they have a 0 tolerance policy. And it was just shut down. So
I've been banned from TikTok Live 73 times. So,
well, my husband's really been pushing me to stream on TikTok. Let's just be real. He's like, you need, they want you to do it. You should do it. Just see what happens. And he's the reason I'm streaming anyways. Mm-hmm. So I guess he's saying stuff. I guess I should listen to him. Because he's kind of been right at times. He's my manager too. He manages me. He's amazing. I love him.
I love that.
So we decided to stream last night, went live, and it was it was cool. There was 200 and some people, and then there's 500 and some people in there. Then there was 1,500 and some people, then up to 3,100 at one point.
Oh my God.
People in there. And the chat, just the weird thing about their chat is in the chat is so-and-so's joined, so-and-so's like, so-and-so's followed, so-and-so's shared. And then there's the comments and you're trying to see the comments in between all this. And I'm like, I don't know. And every single one of them is like, well, what's your Twitch? Are you streaming on Twitch right now too? And I'm like, no, I'm just here. Like,
I can't. Can you do it? Can you even do
there's
both?
people doing it that are partners, and I'm asking questions if they'll answer me.
Interesting.
But I've seen 3 or 4 partners that are streaming on Twitch at the same time as streaming on TikTok. And I don't know if it's because it's a different format that it makes a difference.
Interesting.
Weird.
Right?
But like yours was different because it was a specific.
I was just streaming on TikTok, hanging out. Because here's my thing is that when you stream on 2 places at once, because in the beginning I tried to restream before I was affiliate or anything anywhere, and you could. It's weird because you can't, like, if you're talking to this chat doesn't know what you're saying. Like, they don't see the comments. It just seems so disconnected with that community there. So I want to just be connected with a community on TikTok and all its toxicity that there is there. Some really weird. It was some of the comments were,
no.
I thought Facebook comments were bad. So far, the one that I've had the least toxic comments on is Twitch.
I think it's I've found it very interesting as well, and I think it also has to do a lot with you and maybe your mods as well, of like zero tolerance policy of like, if you say something,
There's zero tolerance.
Exactly, zero tolerance policy. If you say something that isn't cool, you're gone.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of build your community to be a really safe space.
Yeah.
Whereas with Facebook, almost like because of the discoverability, you've got more random people coming in that are more likely to be like, I'm going to be a troll.
Yeah.
It's weird because Facebook, like that has your real name. Like it has your government name on there. You would think it would prevent people from being shitty and saying these terrible things. And Twitch would be the place that it's happening because they hide behind a username.
You would think that too. And I actually had one person that basically he DM'd me, which those I can't like report. Like if someone does stuff in my chat, I can report it. I can report their stuff. But if it's a DM, you can't report it. Because I'm a partner,
Really?
I could get it to someone and my partner manager. So they no longer have a profile on Facebook anymore. But I've known friends, because especially, as females, we get the weirdest, stupidest, sexist things, and especially younger females. You guys get it way worse than I get it. Most of my stuff's that I'm old and whatever, and wrinkles and all wrinkly balls and all that. Anyways, I had to throw that in there.
Had to. I can't. I just had to
be there. So I've had females who basically, guys have said some pretty horrible stuff to them in comments, and they just click on his profile and be like, oh, that's his wife. Send this. Look at what your husband said to me on this. Flat out, just send it to their significant others and be like,
yes,
their husband's kind of a douche,
And I guess that's the cool thing. That's the kind of the cool thing about Facebook is that you can that's who they are. You see all Facebook is not just a gaming platform or a streaming platform. It's a place where people create community, friendships, and have like their life updates basically.
Yeah. I get a lot of comments like, "Oh, you're 30 and you're still playing video games? Like get a life." Do you get those kind of comments as well? Like, "You're old. Why are you playing video games?"
You should be taking care of your grandkids. You should be baking cookies. You should go make me a sandwich, which everybody gets that one.
What?
You should be
I've never
making me
heard that
one because I'm kind of
before.
hungry right now, and ham and cheese kind of sounds good. But I try really hard to be a positive because I want my community to be a positive place, and I try to be positive back because I've actually talked with some people this way, and now they're hanging around and they're part of the community and they're normal and nice, right? But I'm just like one guy's like, why are you still playing video games? I'm like, well, at what age do you think you should stop playing video games? And he's like, 30.
Why?
I go, do you think that your interests in your hobbies are going to stop at 30 years old? That you're not going to need some kind of outlet or a hobby or something after 30 years old? I mean, yeah, he's like, I'm going to take care of my family. I'm like, absolutely, you're going to take care of your family, but you're going to need some time to yourself too. You can't just not have any kind of hobby or any kind of outlet. You have to have that. So and then he was like, oh, well, I never thought of it that way. You kind of have a point.
Look at you educating people.
Well, I mean, think about it. When you were younger, like in your early 20s, 30 and 40, that seems super old, right? And so you think that you're going to be doing these kind of things at that point because you have this weird warped sense of what that is. until you get there. Like, I didn't think that this is what 57 looked like. Like, I mean, my grandma died at 56, so I kind of didn't see like grandparents, and my grandpa wasn't in the picture. So I didn't see like grandparents like in that place. So I thought, wow, 57's old. My grandma died at 57, right? It's just, you have this weird warped sense of what the future looks like until you're there. And I'm like, I don't feel like I thought I would feel at 57. I still feel like I thought I feel mostly in my 30s. You know what I mean? Like, I still feel the same, especially mentally and stuff. Physically, my body's not. It's failing, but it's okay.
I think that that's an interesting thing because it's almost like a societal norm that has been created of like, once you get older, you can't have fun.
Exactly. And my family is the first ones that are like, you need to do this. You should do this. You know, you took care of us for how many years? Like, I was a stay-at-home mom. You took care of us for how many years? This is your time to do something for you. You need to do this. You need to have fun with this. And they're so encouraging and always in my corner and always checking and asking how I'm doing and popping in sometimes. Like, my youngest was in my TikTok last night and in there saying stuff. And
Yes.
That's so cute.
So, like, yes, it's amazing to have that family that is so encouraging. I've heard that you actually live kind of close to your family in a way.
very close. So interesting things. Like, we used to live out in the county, right? Out in the country long and we moved into town, and then our daughter and son-in-law were always at our house before they had grandkids. They're always at our house hanging out. They couldn't afford to buy a house in this market. We were paying a lot for our mortgage, and we're like, why don't we just buy a house together? So we were looking around. We found this house. It's like a split level. So there's an upstairs, like the door, and you go either up or you go down. And so they live upstairs. We live downstairs. We put a kitchen in down here. So we have like a small living room, dining room, kitchen area. And then we had a bedroom, and then we added this room. This is part of the garage. We added the office. So anytime I'm done streaming, I can be up there. Hey, can I come up and go see the grandbabies? So my tagline now has always been, I'm a grandma living in my kid's basement playing video games. Just the opposite.
That's literally phenomenal.
And I know we're super, super fortunate to have that kind of relationship with our kids. I mean, we fostered it, obviously. Teenage years were rough, but we just, I don't know. I think, just going to get into a mom moment here. With kids, you make mistakes. You make a lot of mistakes, right? I screwed up a lot as a parent, but there was most of the time, not all the time, most of the time I went back to them like, I was wrong. Sorry, I screwed up on this, or we've had conversations since then. They can be like, well, this was kind of our point of view. I'm like, wow, yeah, I was kind of wrong with that. So have that open dialogue with your kids kind of fosters that adult relationships where I'm good friends with all my kids.
And I think that it's really hard sometimes too for parents, especially like friends that I know, and specifically me, that like it's hard to get out of that mom mode. It's like, your kids are always your kids, yes, but they're adults now. They make their own decisions. You become friends at that point. And I love that you just said that you were friends with your kids. I think that's so cool.
It's so hard to get out of that mode where you want to just protect your kids at all points. It's so hard to get to that point where I got to let them make mistakes. I got to let them maybe fall and just be there if they do, because they're going to make mistakes and I'm going to be here to pick them up, and it's okay. And they're going to grow from it and become better humans, because we grow from our experiences, right? If you put your kids in a bubble, they're never going to grow.
Ah, so true. So true.
This is experience. Like, if I would have known this and actually done it when my kids were probably in high school, it would probably have been a lot better. But
so being an OG, an original gamer, like, what are the changes that you've noticed that has happened with the gaming world as it has grown? Like, have you noticed differences in marketing towards more like male audiences, or like how maybe games might be possibly gendered in certain ways? Have you seen that change, especially from like the beginning with like Pong?
that's a good question. I mean, obviously the beginning video games are just marketed probably more to kids, right? It's a way for kids to play games. And I think adults picked it up because they liked it. But especially the games that I remember playing, like Crackpots and all of those, it didn't seem like they were like gendered at all. It was like everybody just played them, right? Mm-hmm. So to me, I didn't see a lot of it probably until I started getting into first-person shooters.
Yeah.
And you kind of get that side of the whole gaming world and first-person shooters and war games, because war is a man's thing. I still remember going into Call of Duty lobbies in the beginning. If you talk, they're like, they just jump down your throat. So you just stop talking. I mean, like there was a period I didn't play video games at all. Like after Atari and then through my high school years and up until we got married, like I played sports. I played soccer. I did all these things that I was always so busy with that I didn't I was kind of out of it for that little bit of time.
Yeah.
And maybe that's, I don't know if maybe a lot of girls didn't play video games at that time, right? So maybe that's when things started to change. It's like, well, this is what guys do. This is what teenage boys do. This is what they play these games, and girls kind of just wanted to be housewives and stuff like that. But
Make sandwiches.
yeah. The making the sandwiches for them to play the video games, right? And then my husband was always so supportive. Like we would go to arcades. Like I went with my mom to arcades, and then him and I went. Like one of our first dates was we went to an arcade, and I beat him at games, and he thought this was cool. She likes to play video games, and she's good at them. My perspective was that he's always been supportive. My dad was always supportive. My brother was always supportive. So I didn't get a whole lot of that until I got into Call of Duty. I was that guys weren't supportive of girls playing games. Like, what's the big deal? Like,
You're like blindsided.
right. Why is it such a big deal that I'm in here shooting you and you're not very good? I mean, so what?
You realize we're doing the same thing, but I'm doing it better?
Right.
Oh, that's phenomenal. No, that's actually really interesting. And I think that also might be why too you have stuck with gaming for so long, is having that support from your family, obviously. Because when you have these societal norms of like video games are being lazy, they're not going to get you anywhere, you're like being antisocial, when really it's actually quite the opposite.
Right.
And like for your family to see that and be like, no, this is a great outlet. This is a great like mental health thing for you as well.
Keep my brain sharp.
Keep that brain sharp. No, I mean, I see it. And even when I was growing up, like my parents were not cool with it with my brother. It didn't even matter at that time if it was like a young girl or a young guy. It just had to do with like, that's lazy. Like you should be doing something else with your time.
Yeah. So like with our kids too, I mean, we bought the systems. Like our kids had Nintendo, they had Xbox. They did have some, like our girls would play kind of here and there. They weren't as into video games as him. They liked the Dance Dance Revolution and they liked to sing and they liked Mario and stuff like that. And they tried the first person shooters. They didn't like them, which is great. So, but our son loved video games. And if we were left unchecked, that's all he would have done. Right. So we did have guidelines on it. Like you got to do your homework, or on school nights, we would kind of limit video games because my kids weren't good at doing he wasn't good at doing homework like his parents. Looking back, that was such a good system we had, because then he went off to college and he's like, I'm taking my Xbox. I'm like, I don't think you should take your Xbox. I'm gonna take my Xbox. I'm like, you're 18 years old. You can take your Xbox, but you shouldn't take your Xbox. He went on a football scholarship. I went for 1 year, but he majored in playing WoW and not going to classes. So they said, you should probably go back home, maybe go to a 2-year and just kind of, figure it out and then come back. So I see it from both sides, right? As a mom and as someone who loves to play games, you do still have to be productive in society with things that need to get done for your own well-being, right? And so unless you can make it a job, you can get there, but you don't just jump into it making a living, right?
Yeah.
But with anything in life, right? With anything, if there's too much, it's not healthy.
Correct.
I guess that's my point.
For sure.
No, I love that point. Actually, I really appreciate you giving both of those sides.
Right. And I think it's just up to parents to kind of help their kids learn those, learn that balancing act. Like, don't say no, don't play video games, because really what's it going to want them to, they're just going to want to play it more, right?
Yep.
I mean, we know kids, like you're just going to want to do opposite whatever your parents tell you to do. So helping guide them to be like, oh, look, like you have responsibilities. Let's take care of this and then go for it.
Yeah.
What is the difference in response between like people your age and then like people younger than you, like the general demographic of like Call of Duty and stuff, when they find out you're a professional gamer?
That's so funny because I usually don't want to tell anybody in real life what I do because they just don't. Okay,
Same.
it's so weird. So kids that are younger than me, I mean, kids, everybody's younger than me, but people that are younger than me that play the game, they think it's amazing. They're like, oh, wow, that's so cool. I mean, the ones that get it, there's still people that don't understand the whole video game side. But then we kind of tell them like, oh, okay, that's cool. But people my age look at me like, play video games. like you teach people like it's a tutorial. I'm like, no, I just play video games and people give me money. They give you money to play video games. I'm like, well, yeah, they do. Like, I'm not explaining it, and it's just weird. Like, and then I have a couple of people that are quite closer to my age, like, wow, that's really cool. But most of them look at me like, I don't get it, and that's weird. Like, you just sit at home and play video games. Yeah. And you make money. I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I had to explain that to someone on my cheer squad last week, and they were just like, and what do you do? I was like, play video games. They're like, but how do you make the money? It's like, I sit there and they give it to me. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Something that I've started to explain to people as well is that, like, it's honestly not just the video games, though. You've created some sort of sense of belonging. You've given them a safe place and a thing that's something that can entertain them, that they enjoy, that is exciting, but also a community and a space that they can be themselves. And I felt that way. Like being able to stream in general, like that's why I came out. It's because I was like, oh, I can talk about this here casually and people don't care.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And the ones who do care get banned.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
And I think that that's where like I've been able to explain that more to some people too. Of like, yeah, they pay me, but it's really just because they enjoy the space.
When I started streaming, for one, I didn't think anybody would watch. But then once people started coming in and hanging out, I'm like, well, what kind of space do I want to make this, right? I just wanted it to be a place where people can come in and hang out. We're not going to talk politics. We're not going to talk religion. We're just going to hang out. We're going to support each other. I kind of started it back up again. I asked people how they're doing. Like if people need just like some support in chat, just, you know, what's going on in your life kind of thing. So, because some people, especially through the pandemic, I pretty much have streamed from the beginning from the pandemic. I started right before it. And now it's like people have been hurting. People have been lonely. People have been isolated. People are going through mental health challenges because of being isolated. People are going through cancer. People are going through like their babies in the hospital. Like it's just, so if we can have a space where people can come in and just be like, hey, how are you doing today? And just having someone listen to you, like obviously we're not physically there and can't do something physically, but we can listen and we can be an ear and we can be someone that can empathize with someone, you know, and let them just kind of air it out and be like, you know, I'm thinking about you. I'm sending you positive vibes. I'm praying for you. Like just being there for them.
I think that's one of the amazing things about being like a grandma, like gamer, like doing this, like you're giving people who like might not have that relationship with their grandparents or with their family, especially I know like mine and Squid's communities, like of mostly queer people, a lot of them don't have good relationships with their families, but they're like, I love Tactical Grandma so much. Like I love feeling like I have like a grandma to look up to and talk to and like make them feel so like warm, like that grandma love that they need.
It's kind of interesting because early on, probably the first year in, someone came in and said, wow, someone came in and said, this is probably the largest LGBTQ community I've seen outside of being in one physically. Like just being able to come in here and just being who we are, being accepted for who we are, just being, like it doesn't matter, right? Like people are people and we just need to love everybody no matter what they identify as. Like, and I'm from a different generation, so I'm like, I got to make sure I say things right because I grew up in a different generation, right? Obviously. But it's just, my thing is people are people and we just need to love them. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what race they are. It doesn't matter what religion they are. It doesn't matter what they identify as. They're people. And everybody just needs to be loved.
I'm not crying.
Me neither. Nope. There's not tears in my eyes.
I completely relate to the whole, like, I feel the family connection. I feel that like grandmother, like love. Because again, like me and my grandma, like, we don't have that relationship. Like, you are appreciated more than you know.
I'm sorry you're going through that. Like, it makes me emotional. But
So, obviously, you know that the title of our podcast is called Not Your Pick Me. So,
I was wondering.
what?
What does that mean?
Yeah, so that's kind of a question that we want to ask you. If like, first of all, you've heard of the term pick me?
Well, like in a no.
No?
I mean, like, pick me, but
Close.
Yeah.
Literally, that's
Okay.
what it is.
I like to describe it as like someone trying to appease the oppressor, like a woman trying to put down other women to appease men, like a person of color trying to like put down like people like them to like appease white people, like, you know, and stuff like that is typically like a
Okay.
pick me behavior.
We'll get into like a game or something, and it'll be a game, a team full of guys and one girl. I think that it doesn't just apply to women. Pick me does not just apply to women, but it does happen a lot with women, where they'll just be like, someone will be like fat shaming, or they'll be homophobic, or they'll be racist, and the girl's just like, yeah, and you're like, or like they'll just be sexist, straight up
Right.
sexist, and the woman's like, yeah, you tell them, and you're like,
They don't respect you, sweetie.
he's saying that to us, and he would 1000% say it to you,
Right.
but because you're being cool, it's fine. So I guess that is kind of what I'm wanting to ask is if you've ever run across these situations where you've run into a pick me or you've seen pick me type behavior.
Not that okay, my memory is horrible for one, but not that I can recall. I don't know. I mean, you kind of see it on Twitter, maybe. You know, you see a lot of that weirdness on Twitter. I stay out of all of that. Like, if you don't have anything, I'm of the mind, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. Like, you don't need to air all this stuff out on, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, I did put the wrinkly balls out there, but no, but you know, like how people like the subtweets, like,
Yeah.
to me, that's kind of the same thing, right? The subtweets about situations like that is probably the only stuff I've seen, but I purposely stay out of it. Like, if I'm playing with randoms and they're saying homophobic things or they're saying racist things, I'm like, whoa, you guys need to stop, you know? And I usually mute them. I don't know. I think we should all stand up, no matter what it is. If it's racist, if it's homophobic, if it's just abusive of any sort to any person, we need to stand up for and be like, this is not cool. You need to stop that.
That's the thing. And sometimes I think people are scared because if they do stand up, then they're going to be mean to them or they're not going to allow them to play with them anymore. And that's where that pick
don't
me
play with
behavior
them.
comes. And it's like, don't. You shouldn't play with them in the first place.
Right.
Like, as soon as you hear those things, like, there's no way that's enjoyable for you.
Right.
And so that is why our podcast is called Not Your Pick Me, because we're not going to do that.
Right. I guess it's just that all that kind of stuff has always just made me feel uncomfortable. I don't like. I guess I wasn't one of the cool kids in school. So when I see people not being nice to other people, no matter what it's about, I don't know, it just makes me feel uncomfortable, and I don't want to be in that situation. So I've backed out of games. Like, it's like, we're not even gonna stay here with this anymore. It's just not worth it. Like, you just don't treat people like that, right? That's my theory.
And you don't put up with it because grandma is not your pick me.
I'm not your pick me.
I love that.
So we talked earlier about, you know, people saying like, oh, once you're 30 or whatever, you shouldn't play anymore. And like people having this like weird thought about like their future playing games. What advice do you have for anyone who's worried that as they get older, they need to like refrain from playing video games?
You need hobbies as you get older. If yours is video games, then play video games. If yours is sewing, then sew. If yours is building furniture, then build furniture. But if you love video games, who cares how old you are? Like, continue to play. Continue to have fun with it. I don't know. I think it keeps you young. I think it actually gives you a foot in the door with the younger generation. Like with my son growing up, like there was a way we could bond. When he was at college and he was supposed to be doing stuff, we would play video games with him on Friday nights. Like we would play Call of Duty with him and his friends on Friday nights, and they thought it was great, right? with kids that I've come in contact, it's it's kind of an open door, like for kids who like games to get in there and talk with them and just kind of see where they are. Because if you ask them about things they like, they open up more, right? The kids that like sports, you ask them about sports, they open up more. And not just kids, but really anybody. Like if you like it, then it's kind of a door for you to have conversations with people that you may not be able to have those conversations. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna lie, you give me that hope that I can continue to do this as a job. Like you give me that drive. I was just like, I can keep doing this. I don't actually ever have to stop.
I know, maybe I'll have to switch to Minecraft one day, but we'll see.
You'd still be wonderful at Minecraft. Somehow you'd figure out how to snipe there. Oh, man.
I do want to hook up my Switch and I want to play some Mario Kart.
Ooh.
Yes.
I bet you're
I've done that one
super
time.
competitive in Mario Kart. Like,
Oh, yeah. You should have seen us as a family. I just need to know how to hook it up to stream it. I just don't know how to do that yet.
There's plenty of YouTube videos that are like, do this, and this, and
Yeah.
it's done. And you're like, oh, thank God.
That's how I've
Thank
done
you.
everything else in here. Was YouTube.
Yeah.
That's how my husband learned how to edit my TikToks.
Yes, that's how I learned how to edit.
Amazing.
I have a degree in sports video and media production, and I know how to use Premiere Pro, and I still watch the videos to be able
Yep.
to do it.
He was away on a work trip, so I'm like, I gotta get TikTok video out there. So I'm like, I'm just gonna do it on my phone with this little app you can do. And I put it up. I'm like, I did a TikTok video. Don't even look at it. It's terrible. It was so bad. It was so bad.
I love that y'all are kind of a team, though. Like,
Yeah.
y'all are literally a team for this. It's like, while you are the face, he does a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
A lot.
And seeing him at the Vanguard reveal on y'all's anniversary and being so supportive, that was the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
it was adorable.
He's my biggest fan. Like, well, I think the hope is and the goal is that he can quit his day job and we just do this. But
Yeah.
it freaks me out right now, so I told him he can't.
Before we start wrapping up, do you have any questions for us?
I do. I asked Squid this once before, but when are you guys going to teach me Search and Destroy?
Oh, literally whenever.
I swear. Imagine. Oh, I'm gonna have to tell you though. Like, I'm gonna need more wrinkly balls comments. I need that kind of energy.
It'll be on Twitch. It'll be a Twitch stream then, not a Facebook.
Wrinkly ball energy.
No, seriously though, I am completely down with teaching you to Search and Destroy and doing it. I think that you would have a good time, and I think that you also could snipe still in Search and Destroy.
I would give it a go. I think that the key. So when we always played multiplayer, we always didn't do Search and Destroy. We just did multiplayer, run around, shoot people, and not really hold angles and this and that. So to actually be able to learn kind of the strategery of the kind of search and how to hold your points and stuff, I think it would be fun.
That also helps a lot with 1v1s.
Hey, Hipfire PBSH still kind of broken.
Oh, so broken.
So broken a grandma can use it.
So Grandma, something that we do at the end of every single one of our episodes is, because we are not actually live and on Twitch right now, we don't have that opportunity to raid out to another individual. So we like to ask our guests, if they were to be able to raid anyone right now, if they were able to send these listeners to anyone, who would that person be for you?
I don't know that I have a name on person. Here's what I do when I raid. I literally open up the game I'm playing, which is always Call of Duty, sometimes Tarkov. And so I'll open a whole nother window. I'll open the game up and I'll take a long time scrolling down to the bottom and find someone with 1 to 5 viewers, sometimes 0 too. And and usually it's a female or a person of color. And that's who I'll raid and just show the love to them. So I don't know if this is a specific person, because I remember being that newer streamer or smaller streamer. I hate the word smaller streamer, right? But being newer at it, or maybe not have as many viewers, and people coming in and rating me and how that felt, that I just like to spread it on to someone else.
I remember when Squid got a big raid from a bigger creator, and like how excited we all were, and how we felt. I remember my first big raid when like 80 people were in there and I was only averaging like maybe 5 to 7. Like those things like really have a big, like honestly lasting effect on streamers. And you said you don't like smaller streamers. I saw recently people said, let's start using growing streamers instead of smaller streamers, which I think is perfect. So those things have a lasting effect on growing streamers, and even just like seeing new people in your chat who you don't recognize, like when you're still trying to get out there. It's just like it all means so much at any point in your career, but especially like when you are grinding to get to those like big goals that you want.
I love that idea. I love that we don't actually have a specific person to raid, but a call to action to go look at these growing streamers. Go see
Broaden
them.
your
Go-
horizons.
My suggestion is too is if you're a growing streamer, don't have it on follower only chat unless you really have
Yes.
trolls, because if it's follower only, I don't rate them.
Same.
And people will apologize for cursing, especially if I rate them and stuff. I'm like, you need to be you, be your content. You don't have to be like me. Just because I'm PG doesn't mean you need to be PG. Be you. Be just who you are.
So, Grandma, thank you so much for being here again and taking the time to do this podcast with us, because it has been wonderful hearing your story. Honest to God, it gives me hope and excitement for the future of gaming, and it's specifically my future of gaming and being able to continue to stream for as long as I can.
Thank you so much, Grandma, for talking with us today. It's been amazing to hear about your journey, learn more about your life, literal life as a gamer. It's been super amazing.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast, Not Your Pick Me, hosted by me, Squid.
And me, Cheer.
Join our community over on the Discord and follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more exclusive content. When you leave a review, tell us about the topics and creators that you want to learn more about.
Our executive producer is Janice Matsko of Empowerment Ventures, and our theme music was created by Brandon Peralta.
Until next time, guys, all my lovin's.
And thanks for hanging out.